we're going to cut it there because our guest is sick. He's got the flu.
I know, poor Bob. I just texted him. He's down. He's like, "Oh man, I'm really bad." So unfortunately, we'll have to rebook him for the future. He's a really dear old friend, and it was going to be a very interesting conversation, to say the least. So I'm going to leave him as a mystery guest for now until we get him back on in the future, and we'll take it from there. Incidentally, an interesting topic that's coming up next week is in the intro. It talks about, whatever, however you grow, whatever you grow, just grow.
Yeah.
So I've been working with one of the spiritual leaders that I worked with over the many 5+6. God, it's been years. I don't even know, maybe 10 years. About people's moral compass, and so that's going to be a really interesting one. He and I have both been texting back and forth about, how do you even go about establishing a moral compass in 2024 when the world is on fire and upside down? How do you stand your ground? How do you bring your vibration up to another level without, selling your soul? To accomplish simple tasks of life, like earning money and supporting your own self-worth. It's a challenge. And when I first proposed this to him, like probably a month and a half ago, it was kind of lighthearted. But then that night, I really thought about it. I meditated on it, and I was like, man, that's a deep topic to talk about. I mean, we're gonna talk about everything from Biden to freaking Trump and how that's dividing the country, and all of those things that are you have to take into consideration when you're setting your own boundaries. And without boundaries, you're definitely going to get taken advantage of. And how, like, the good things in the world, like generosity, love, care, sharing, are all viewed as weakness, not as strengths. So incidentally, that's for the audience to start thinking about, getting their heads wrapped around that one, because again, it's going to be a very interesting conversation. It's could take many different directions.
And that's next week.
That's next week. Yep.
Yeah. We just have to be a little careful on which names we pop out so that we don't get barred from YouTube.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point. And I'll stay away from controversial, like real controversial shit. I'll stick to, and we can just, we don't have to name names. We can just make
talk around the topic. Yes.
Right. Innuendos. Yeah. So we should be able to pull that off without too much trouble. So incidentally, we don't have a guest today, audience. So we'll probably end a little early, but we figure that it's been a year. Ken reminded me we hit 1 year of this podcast last 2 days ago.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's 56 sessions that we've put on. I wish I had been more prepared, and we could have printed a list of all of the different guests, because we definitely covered some pretty interesting topics over the last year.
Oh yeah. And a lot of different guests. I'm actually just trying to bring up the playlist. You keep talking, brother. I'll work on bringing up the playlist, because then we'll have the name of the guest. But our first guest was Av with you. It's a sad state of affairs that we lost him, but life gets in the way a lot of times. But then we had your friend Perky. What's going on with Perky?
He's doing great. He's down in Florida. It looks like he's gearing up to pull the trigger on the first Thunderdome.
Cool.
He's done his research, about the best ways to build this, the best products on the market for the skin and everything else. Yeah, he called me about 2 weeks ago. It was about 2 weeks ago on a weekend, just to catch up. We hadn't talked in a few months, and so he's doing really well. He's happy. He's really excited to launch this. He still hasn't officially launched the 3i Tiger platform.
Right.
He doesn't have enough material put together. so that it wasn't like a scramble. Like he was already prepared, it was already done, and
Yeah.
he could manage it, which I think is a good idea. I thought, that in his initial hurry to launch, I'm like, look, the biggest mistake you could make is launch without being prepared, because then
Yes.
you're behind the eight ball, constantly chasing, and that, let's face it, you're not going to get really good content that way.
Hmm.
So he's doing well, and it's about time. We'll probably have him on, early this year again to see where he's at and what he's doing. And
Yeah, I'd love to have him back.
yeah, he's a very inspirational human being for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
And who was our third?
We had the wonderful Kimberly Frenchie Cannoli's
Kimberly Cannoli.
Madame.
Yeah. Really interesting stuff popping off on IG about the most recent one I saw was she was doing a couple of shorts, or
Mhm.
reels, I believe they are, and she had
Yeah.
Kevin Curry on talking about how Frenchie really galvanized. I use that word appropriately, like pulled together a whole community of people, whether they were making concentrates or hash. And one of the interesting things was that, and I hadn't paid attention to this.
Mhm.
Dragonfly had a beehive meeting in Humboldt County 5 years ago, I think it was,
Okay.
and he was there. And Frenchie kind of, when they started talking about concentrates that would be allowed under the Dragonfly umbrella, they talked about, well, we obviously solventless, uh,
Mhm.
and then it went to, well, bubble's a good one, critical CO2 should be accepted, obviously not butane. But then
Yeah.
Frenchie got up and was just like, hey, look, that's not hash. Hash is this. It is
Yeah.
made this way. Those are concentrates, and you've really got to kind of like decide how to
Separate.
describe them, because a full melt is not a chunk of hash. It's not. You have to smoke it differently.
Yeah.
And he brought up a really, really valid point, and he was very passionate about it. He did offend a couple of concentrate makers up there who called themselves hash makers.
I'm sure.
Yeah, but that was par for the course. I mean, it's like, hey, bitch slap, wake up.
Yeah.
You've got to start defining the difference between traditional hashish and all of these other spin-off concentrate products.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. And then to hear, like I said, Kev on live or on the reel a week
Yeah.
ago about how he was the one, the inspiration that really brought traditional hash making back to America in a big way. Where like Kev says, he goes out to these conferences and get-togethers, and that's the conversation: is, well, is it
Yeah.
traditional or is it concentrated? And so many people, like, he left, I think, 3 masters behind, traditional hash making masters.
Mhm.
Dark, oh fuck, I can't remember her name.
And
Dank,
I
Dank
Dank
Goddess, whatever. So there's
Dank
like
Duchess?
Dank Duchess, correct. That was one
Yeah.
of them. We had her on the FPC one years
Yeah.
and years ago. And then a couple other ones who have done very, very well at both teaching it as well as producing high end quality materials
Yeah.
for people to enjoy. So that was good. He's definitely still very much alive and among people's minds and thoughts when it comes to both hash and concentrate making. So glad that name is still surfacing on a regular basis. And yeah, she's a
Yeah.
sweetheart.
Well, and his daughter is also teaching as well. Like, we had Extraction Zeus talk to us a few times, and he went down to California and took that chorus with her. I guess it was an absolutely amazing chorus.
Nice.
Yeah. So then after that, we went to David at Gusniak. Do you remember David, the talking mycelium?
Yes, yes. He was an interesting cat for sure. Now, he was down in New Mexico, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And he had put on a festival down there, and some of the boys, Craig and Leaf, I think, were going to try to attend that, and something happened. But
Yeah.
that's a very tight community, the mycelial or what do we call them? Mycologists.
Mycology.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the mycologies group is a really pretty well tight banded organization or group of guys that are really into it.
Well, yeah, exactly. And we actually had his boss on later on in the season. We'll get to him in a while. But yeah, the Mycelium Fest in New Mexico.
Very cool.
So then we were speaking about Josh and Kelly. You mentioned them earlier. They were the next ones that came on.
Nice. Yeah, I love those guys. They have just been, true patriots in getting the transition from legal to or illegal to legal and trying to help support both the individual farmers as well as the market, as well as how to manage the medicinal side of it. So just true heroes, and should probably try to get them back on again. The only problem with them is their internet is just so spotty up there.
Actually, the last time I spoke to them, I think they were getting Starlink, like I have.
Okay.
So they should be good, but I'll reach out to them here this week and see if we can get them scheduled in here again.
Yeah, it'd be great to get them back. They're talk about good people.
Oh, and they've helped people globally, like the hospitals that Kelly ran in third world countries, the thousands of births that she has been a part of. Just the energy of those two just touches the person's heart.
And let's not forget about the tsunamis. They went in right after the tsunamis and helped put the villages back together and provided like medical care in these places where there was none. So you talk about patriots for humanity.
Yes, and that's exactly what they are, and that's why one of the reasons they're loved by so many around the world.
I'm into that.
Then we had our friend Kyle on with Keith from Fish Brew.
Nice. Kyle Moot, the farmer, and Keith from Fish Brew, Keith Wilden. I spoke to Kyle today. He just got a microscope, a very interesting microscope. Sasha, who she's been on the show with Fish Brew before, she's Keith's chief fish biologist. Suggested getting a certain one, which was pretty pricey, but he's a young guy and he's going to have years of use of this tool. The one that he got's a little bit more rugged than the ones that I suggest, but if you drop the one I suggest, you can get another one and still be less than the one he paid for.
Go figure, right?
Yeah, right. But the interesting thing is he got a real high-end camera for it, and he found software that will actually do very similar to the soil food web counts. Okay. So the software will do the quantitative where you can still do the qualitative yourself and just identify, okay, we do have protozoa, we do have fungi, we do have nematodes. But if you really want to start seeing those relationships between fungi to bacteria, and another one that I've been really pushing hard for on the backside of soil food web is a protozoa to bacteria ratio. Now we know that in Earthfort's algorithm, they take into consideration nitrogen produced per acre for a 90-day period based on the relationship between the volume of bacteria to the volume of protozoa. So I think personally that's a really important comparison that is not done right now through the soil food web. You still can get it through you can still get it through Earthfort, which were the original 3 labs that started way back when. But I'm encouraging like Andy and some of her compadres to start taking that factor into consideration. Shouldn't be too hard for them to get that algorithm from Elaine and then just plug it into their format. Because I think it's an important piece of information that should not be overlooked. So,
well, it's one of those keys that nobody's been looking at, but I think it needs to be unlocked because that relationship, is the stepping stone to the next level of a soil system.
Agreed, 100%. I mean, in Chip Osborne's teaching, that was like a really, really big factor because he was like, look, if I'm already producing, if my uh, compost extract is already producing you 200 to 250 pounds of nitrogen per acre over a 90-day period, that
Mhm.
means you can cut back your fertilizers by 75, 80, 85%.
Yeah.
And anything that you use beyond that, you're wasting your money because it's just going to leach out because you're already getting all the nitrogen that the plants need through the biology.
Yeah.
So again, I think these are really important comparisons that should be on future test results. But
Yeah.
keep pushing.
Well, exactly, and that's something that I can help push with because, having the comparisons and showing that to a farmer who knows his numbers, he's going to go, well, hold on, this makes a lot more sense because it's there in front of him.
Yep. And I went through this with Kyle. I said,
Yeah.
Kyle had a somewhat unsuccessful year last year. We tried a different method of biological installation, and he and I miscommunicated. I was assuming that the soil was not bare, that there was some kind of root
Yes.
system or cover crop in place, and it wasn't. It was bare. And so
Yeah.
when he applied it, it just evaporated. So he lost uh, all of his organisms after the application. Now, the place that he didn't lose it, he had, I believe it was, almost 300 bushels per acre on that small lot. And so I had him look at the test data from Andy, and I said, look, when you're at 80,000 protozoa per unigram of soil, that's where your sweet spot is because look at the production the field made. And over
Yeah.
here, where you had 8,000 instead of 80,000, you didn't get nearly the results that you did. So now you have a way to start to really gauge the level of biology that you need. And if you can do that at the beginning of the season before the plants get too big, you can always reapply another compost extract and guarantee that you'll cruise right into the hot, dry summer
Mhm.
with your organisms intact and under that crust, because that's essentially what it is. It's this like top,
Unfortunately.
yeah,
Yeah.
half to 1 inch that's just crispy, and anything that goes on top of it, it's hydrophobic, so it's just going to get evaporated off the top
Yeah.
of it.
He needs to a lot more organic material on that top to make it into soil again. It's not just that hard. It's almost like silt when you get silt in a mud puddle. That the mud puddle dries and you have that skim coat. As far as I understand, that's silt. Am I correct?
Silt and clay usually combined.
Yeah.
That's where you get the alligator skins,
Yes. Exactly.
which is
Yeah.
what you're talking about, the crust. So
Yeah.
that was another thing that we learned was that in order to ensure that the organisms do get installed at a level in the soil where there is moisture, that we have to pay attention to some of the traditional methods that they used when they were
Yeah.
sowing the plants, sowing the seed. Typically, when they sowed the seed, they went out into the field before setting the depth and took a shovel and dug down till they found the moisture level, which was anywhere from 1 inch to 3 to 4 inches down below the surface. So
Yeah.
that's where they set the depth to make sure that that corn or that soybean seed was in that moisture zone, so it didn't get dried out by the crust. So
Yes. Yeah.
again, live and learn. We don't learn from our successes, only from our mistakes.
Well, and Leighton, if you don't understand the equipment that's being used, if he's what kind of a drill he's using to sow his seeds and like the depth, having him go out with the shovel, that's what he's always done. And it's just a miscommunication. And like I was a farm boy for most of my life, living around in the farming community. And it's having a little bit of a different understanding. I know up here they use in dry areas an air seeder, and actually they don't work up their soil. They just punch through and put the seed down. Now they probably do the same thing, and they're looking for that moisture level, and that's how far they're going to air drill the seed into the ground.
Yep. Yep. It's got to be the same. It only makes sense.
Yeah.
And whether it's an air drill, a side dress, or a tiller, it doesn't matter as long as you set it to the correct depth.
Now, has he tried soaking his seed, doing a seed soak before he plants it all?
He can't because of this. He's doing hundreds of acres, so
yes.
he would have to soak the seeds and then let them dry out so they didn't clog the equipment as the seeds were trying to drop down into the.
Actually, the stuff I've seen, and I'll have to see if I can find it, but that's not necessarily the case. And they don't have to be soaked; they can be misted.
Okay.
So you're not actually wet. So you're not actually soaking them, but you're just adding the biology to the outside of the casing. But yeah, I've seen at least one example where they show them using it and doing it. I think they were doing a compost extract for what they were doing. But, say fish brew would work perfectly for something like that. And you just mist it as you're loading your seed into your bin.
Or I missed it as the seed drops out of the bin. Either or.
Yeah.
So you don't get that clumping.
Yes. And there's that too. And there's machines for that too. Dang it. Oh.
But it goes back to what can you afford, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. And the thing is, Kyle and his friend there, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He's a genius that he could probably just go, oh, that's easy to do. You just do this, this, and this.
Right?
DIY farmers.
You gotta love farmers, man. They're so handy and they're MacGyver fucking everything.
Binder twine, okay, duct tape, a pair of pantyhose behind the seat in case you blew out your fan belt, and you could do pretty much anything, man. You could fix almost anything in the field because you had to keep going.
Yep, literally, you had to keep going.
Yeah, I worked with that age of equipment. We didn't have cabs. We had open, and you're out swathing and combining, and you're just covered in dust at the end of the day. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, I did hay baling for a couple seasons when I was a kid. And
I stooked. Did you ever stook?
What is stook?
You're on a platform as it's square bales coming out, and you have basically forks on the end where you would turn your bale a quarter turn and drop it in, and it forms a V, and you get 4, 3, 2, and then 1 on top. You hit the lever, it slides off, and it's basically stacked in the field, and then you can come pick it up later.
Oh no, this was old school friggin' puking out the bales as it went, and then we'd go back, walking behind the pickup truck, picking them up and tossing them. Oh my God. By the end of the day, you were toast.
Oh yes. Yeah. The other job I had that summer, I did the stooking, was picking cherries in the Okanagan Valley. And I would wake up, and I don't know if it was a dream or a nightmare, but there was this cluster of cherries just out of arm's reach at the top of the ladder. That was just beautiful. I dreamt that same dream night after night for about 3 weeks.
Oh, that hurts.
Oh,
just didn't get it.
just tickle it with your fingertips, So anyway, after that, we actually had the wonderful Andy Marsh on. Soil is Sexy, and you're still getting work done with Andy and the Dallas Cowboys. I know that we talked about it a few shows back when it was you and me the last time. But is there any update on the Dallas side of things?
It's still kind of weird over there. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But my gut feeling is that he's going to move on at some point this year. I don't know when, which will be kind of good because he's way better than they're giving him credit for. Like they're not going to understand what he was doing until he's gone. And then they're going to be like, well, why does this field always look like shit? Why is it always getting torn up? Why are we having all these problems? And, like he and I laughed about the fact that that, this field, if you've ever been there, which most of you haven't, is basically open on one end and surrounded by office buildings on three sides. And when
Yeah.
that sun hits that office building, I mean, it literally, you can see the lines. It's cooked in the field. The only thing that kept that field together was the mycelial networks from the mycorrhizae and the saprophytes, and the fact that we had so high levels of protozoa producing all of those important stress tolerant organisms, as well as nutrients, minerals, and vitamins. That was what was doing it. I mean, he
Mhm.
had there's a thing, I think they call it a shear test, where they
Yeah.
take these stakes and then they twist it. And Andy was talking about that. We were talking about that with her.
Yeah.
And he's always up in the 30s, high 20s, high 30s. Everybody else is in like the acceptable range, which is like mid-teens.
Yeah.
But that's what was preventing those fields from just getting torn up all the time. And so, like, what they had to do this year, is they're going to have to replace the field as soon as I think they lost. So now they're probably going to replace the field again
Yeah.
for practice. But I mean, the cost of that was one of the things that we were going to talk about with Wilkie was what's called a perched water table, or a um, SIP for these high performance sports turfs.
Okay.
Um, and so bottom line is that that's what he's on. And so the problem with that is that you're limited by the depth of your perched water table, which is usually 8 to 9 inches max. And
Yeah.
so if you're not packing high level, high density root growth in that top 5 inches, you're screwed, because it can't go down much further. It's going down into sand and then hitting, excess water buildup. I mean, that's one of the problems that Chris has with his field, is the southeast and southwest corners are always over wet compared to the rest of the field. And we
Yeah.
always get ciliates there. And generally speaking, when we do have an outbreak of root feeding nematodes, that's where they're most concentrated. So
Yeah.
again, it comes back to understanding that you provide an anaerobic environment, you are going to encourage these pests coming
Mhm.
in and causing problems. And so, without those organisms defending against the harsh conditions, um, and the heavy use of these salt fertilizers. I mean, there's one product that has on the label, it says 30% humic acid.
Mhm.
Had them send it off for testing, zero. There was no humic acid in that product whatsoever.
Yeah.
Chlorine, or excuse me, chloride, sodium. I've never seen such high levels. I mean, they were just astronomical. I'm like, good God, if you put that on that field, you're going to kill all of those advanced organisms. There's no way they can take that level of salt. And he's like,
No.
I know. So again, I don't want to go too deep into that conversation, but we'll see what happens. And if he does move on, then that's going to be fantastic, because he'll be able to come on and talk about his experience in blending or learning to transition from pure salt-based fertilizers into a truly organic system on a high performance sports turf, which is a challenge to say the least.
I just had a thought pop into my head, Leighton, about that as you were talking about it. If you had a horizontal soil system built basically underneath your sports field, and put your sports field on top, and you actually, it was open like they do with a lot of arenas and that, they have all the equipment underneath, where you had your you know aquifer layer, and that's where everything was on a SIP system, because you kind of, it just popped into my head. Do you think that would actually work and uh, be able to be actually a lot more water efficient?
So that is the way they are done. Now, the
Okay.
difference between the horizontal system and what we want to call high performance engineered soil is the high performance engineered soil is 99% sand, 1% organic matter, no clay. They don't like clay. And the reason they don't like clay is because it expands and compacts. So they want a soil surface that under no circumstances can lift in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
That was going to be another conversation we had with Wilkie, was about the transition from the infield to the outfield. You have a clay infield where the base runners run, and then you have the actual outfield, which is turf. And that lip right there, all the professional players would complain about it, because if the ball hit on that lip, it could go up, it could go straight out.
Yeah.
It changes the trajectory because it hit that lip. So one of the most important jobs in the Major League Baseball sports
You're not supposed to be giving too much away.
is that very, very transition. So back to your question, the answer is that they don't want to use clay because it's unstable. So they want sand. Now, to get to that level where you have a perfectly engineered soil system that drains and can maintain a high level of fungi and protozoa, the way to do it is with silt. So the silt, and it's really, it's not silt because it's chocolate water. It's tiny, tiny little pieces of organic matter suspended in water that have been vibrated so that they are particularly charged. They're magnetically charged. So when they hit the sand, they pull the sand together. And once they pull the sand together, the bacteria can form what we call biofilm on the union between the sand particle and the silt particle, now bonding them together, and then on and on and on. And so they're creating aggregates. And that's
what you did on that one government field that you talk about.
Dude, I did it all over the fucking country. I did St. Louis Arches, I don't know how many parks in New York City, baseball fields, you name it, because it worked. And what happened was the grass would have a quicker recovery after an event. But if it was misting and you had 1,000 people out there walking across the park, the soil wouldn't compact or turn to mud, which is really important. So it's really a combination of, for lack of better words, silt and sand that creates that ability for the soil, for the engineered aspect of that soil not to fail, but it definitely saves water and allows for that advanced organisms to set in and take hold.
Yeah. Well, but and that's what you need for.
Yeah, really is so.
So then the other half of that conversation is Andy. How's Andy doing? We'd love to have her back on as well.
She's doing well. We've spoken recently. She sent me a paper on a new product that I've got to kind of look into, but it's very similar to what we were just talking about. Supposedly, this product, which I'm not 100% clear on the delivery. Like, I don't know, is the biology being delivered in a silt, which it seems to be that might be their angle, because they're saying you can add our product to 90% sand and have a increase in crop yield. So right away I was like, well, who's growing crops in sand? Nobody. Right? You don't go out to the desert and row crop. Now they've done trees in the desert, but that's a little different, right?
Yeah.
So their claim that they can only use 10% of their product mixed with 90% sand and row crop kind of makes me go, okay, might be a little bit of greenwashing here. But supposedly they have bacteria similar to Rhizobacter, I believe, are the ones that can pull nitrogen out of the air, similar to like a legume, except for this is something that you can actually spray foliar on the plant itself, and it will colonize and therefore pull nitrogen directly out of the atmosphere to support support the fertility of that crop. Now, I don't know, again, if this is a delivery system or if it's a specific bacteria. I don't know if the bacteria has been modified genetically. I don't know if the bacterium has been brewed or grown in vivo, in which case you're going to have to continue to use it over periods of time.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of questions yet to ask, but based on the website that I looked into, they're in Australia. They're all over the world. So obviously,
Yeah.
either they're jacked in with the Matrix, the Bayer Monsanto group,
Yeah.
uh, and the big ag, or they're a legitimate product that has been so successful because of the work it does. So to be
Yeah.
determined.
Well, and it's basically it's claiming to do exactly what you've done in all of these different fields. So hopefully it is a legit product. I'd love to see more legit products out there.
Agreed. Agreed. Again, though, my biggest fear is that this was another conversation we're going to have, Wilkie, about how big business stymies all these amazing good ideas. And
Mhm.
that is the Achilles heel of humanity, is that we have innovators and people coming up with these great methodologies and ways to transform the sins of our fathers back into regenerative, organic, living, supporting nature.
Mhm.
But every time you turn around, one of these great ideas gets stymied.
Yeah.
Just the hydrogen car alone. Elon Musk came on and said that he had two working prototypes, hydrogen cars. He was going to focus on that, and the big five car companies came in and said you cannot do that. You
Mhm.
can't do that. And so he went in the EV direction, which again, EVs are no better than fucking gas cars. They're really
No.
not. If you look at the overall picture, start to end, carbon, the amount of carbon needed to build those things, how long they last, the limitations of the vehicle themselves,
Yeah.
i.e., finding a charger, being able to go 200 miles, all of those things, you take all those things into consideration. Gas vehicles are probably more economical than EVs. Now, that's not to say they don't have a place. Like
Mhm.
here in California, if you had solar panels on your roof, you had a Tesla power pack in the garage, you could drive your car to your job. The pack would get charged all night. You pull in when you get home. There's usually still sunlight happening here. So
Mhm.
now your car is getting charged. Your car is now a battery backup to the battery in your garage. So in theory, you're basically zero net carbon because you're not using energy to create the energy that you need in the battery. Everything is being looped back together again. And
Mhm.
in that methodology, like Florida, Arizona, California, Nevada, Utah, would all be super beneficial there. But if you get
Yeah.
into New England where it's cold and you don't have the sunlight, anything north of the Mason-Dixon line, it doesn't make fucking sense at all. But that's the problem with that. But I mean, again, going back to understanding these technologies that are being stymied. I mean, yeah, I don't even want to say this, but I can, and that is that we had the muncher on the launch pad with this company,
Yeah.
on the fucking launch pad. It was like, yep, it's we're all set. We're just going to meet for the terms. We want to get these into production. We're going to put a few different units around the area. And next thing you know, a new CEO came in. Conversation ended. Just recently, they were told to roll the friggin' muncher off the launch pad, put it back in the holding facility. And so, like, what the fuck? I mean, Ken, that one machine paid for itself in one fucking year due to the cost of getting rid of their waste.
Yeah.
We have verification. I believe it's 12 highly toxic pesticides that are required in high berry production because there's just too many funguses. They're running in anaerobic soils. The weakness of the plant attracts too many different types of aphids and other uh, leaf eating pests. So you got to nuke it from the top and you got to nuke it in the soil. So
Mhm.
the canes are the plant after about 2 to 3 years because they've just cooked it by pushing it. Those canes are so fucking toxic. They have to pay uh, like I don't know 1.3 million or something a year just to get rid of that from one farm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this machine pays for itself in 1 year, and then it's profit after that. And that's not taking into consideration
They're fertilizing.
that it's a fertilizer and a biological control that's going to prevent the anaerobic pockets and the fucking other pests that they are encouraging, or the other fungal
Mhm.
pathogens that come in those environments.
Yeah.
So, you know, how is it that something that makes total financial sense across the fucking board is not the high priority of the company? What is the high priority? What is it? Is it money making? Is that what it's about?
It's the uppers in the control system only allow things to progress so fast in so many ways. Elon Musk, I saw stuff where he was brought an electric motor that was much, I think it was 3 or 4 times more efficient than what he was using. And the word that came back from the engineers was, sorry, we can't have that much of an advance. The government has us regulated to only being able to advance so much a year.
Yeah. Again, stymieing the
Yes.
potential for us to move away from, you know, these things that are not beneficial to the population or the planet.
Well, the thing is, things are changing. I love to see the world changing. There's craziness, but this is what we need to go through. But you guys are going to talk more about that on a different show. I'll keep my mouth shut, and we're going to move over to Mr. Tom Landry, who's been
Ah,
on 3 times now. Okay.
yes, he and I need to catch up. We After the last conversation, he was like, "Yeah, we got to do a session soon," and I got super busy. He obviously got super busy, but yeah, I'm really anxious to catch up with him and see how that aerometer testing is
Yeah.
running out with him, because I think that is really the next level of understanding how to work with the horizontal system to get the max out of it. So having good drybacks, having good wet periods, and then allowing the system to balance in between. So yeah, he'll be another good one. Can't wait
And
to
he
have.
keeps you on your toes, as
Oh
Lily
yeah,
said.
oh yeah. No, he definitely keeps me on my toes. Ever since the day I met him and Smiley.
Yeah.
Smiley's another one that's just got such an incredibly powerful brain, and the
Yeah.
shit he comes out of, where he comes out of with the question is pretty impressive. So yeah, I love Tom for that as well. He does not let me. He keeps me on my toes and crisp.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And you got to always be moving forward because he's going, what's next? What's next? What's next? Yeah. So then we had Miss Lindsay Dawson on, and she was in a study group that Ab was having us come on to every once in a while. An amazing soil grower up here in Canada and BC.
Yes, and her sister's in it as well. I think her
Yes.
sister actually works for her. Yeah, she's had some tremendous successes up there as a synthetic free grower for a number of years now. A very
Yeah.
intelligent girl, as her sister is too. The two of them are, you know, both of them have their independent talents, but you put them together, and it's like, wow, okay, you guys are a great team.
Yeah. Yeah. And very well versed in running a commercial growing facility where a lot of people, don't have that talent to survive in that environment.
Yeah, that whole industry up there is pretty kind of scary if you think about it.
Yeah,
You're trying to do the right thing, and if you can't pick up the whatever you call barcode to get the
yeah,
product in the market, you're done.
yeah, exactly. And the government just doesn't care. They
Yeah.
just want their money. Okay, they want their cut. Okay.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. And they
Then
don't
we
give.
had.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say. Then we had Daryl Fay, one of our endocannabinoid uh, people that we've had on. Um, I know, and I should get back in touch with him about the DNA sampling that you could send in and find out what cannabinoids you were deficient in. I think that was a really key moment in that conversation.
Yeah. So that's another interesting conversation that we're not ready to have yet. But Craig and I formed a group called the M5, which
Okay.
is basically trying to go from macro, micro, microscopic, molecule machine learning, so
Yeah.
that you can create predictive algorithms to say, with you have this many of these different species of bacteria or fungi, you can expect the soil to drift in this way, the plant to react that way. A very, very powerful predictive software. The only issue is that, again, if you don't apply, in this case, the muncher juice correctly, you're not going to get the benefit of it. So again, it'll
Yeah.
go back to, all right, we're applying biologicals. So we approach it with getting them into the soil in the moist zone, not just spraying them on dirt or on dust.
Yeah.
This is not going to work. I mean, you'll still get some benefit, but it's not going to be the kind of potential benefit that you could receive.
Yeah.
But yeah, those will be nice conversations to have in the near future about this. And one of the other gentlemen, Troy, gave me the contact for the guy in Colorado, who I've got to reach out to too, because I'd like to bring him on the podcast as well to start easing into the DNA equation.
That's Zach, correct?
Yes, correct. Yep.
Okay. Okay, then we had another double ender, because we've had Joshua on more than once, but Joshua Sundberg.
Joshua Sunburn, or are you talking about
Josh and Jillian Sundberg.
yeah, Josh and Jill.
Spent some time at their
Yeah,
establishment.
Josh and Jill. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great cat. He actually pinged me last week to see if we could talk this weekend, and I basically said to him, look, I'm slammed right now. Let me get through the 8th, because Kyle's coming out on the 8th to help me set up some irrigation for a larger windrows at Peach Hill. And so I'll be catching up with him after the 10th or 11th, whenever I take Kyle.
Cool. Well, I know he's doing phenomenally well down there, and he's got his terroir working overtime, I think, in his area now.
You know, he's never been able to bring the camera out and really show, like, I mean, he did a little bit, but the incredible ecosystem that he's in. I mean, he's literally in this like valley that has, large trees, creeks, all these different plants and birds and reptiles. And it's just it's like a green ribbon in Arizona. Because you get outside of that ribbon, it's pretty freaking desolate up there. It's just outside of north of Phoenix before you get to Flagstaff. And it's very arid land, but down in this valley where this river is a totally different ecosystem. And he's done, all the terracing with his planting his grapevines, and again, helping to support erosion control on the edge of the banks.
Yeah.
Just he's a great kid. He's done an amazing job with that piece of land. And I did remind him recently that, dude, you got to remind yourself once in a while what it was like when you were down in Phoenix and you were dreaming about this type of situation, and now you're up here banging your head against the wall because you got this issue, and this issue. Would you wish to be back in Phoenix again? He's like, no.
Yeah, the better grass is on the other side of the fence until you get there and go, oh man,
it's not greener over here.
No. So then we went into bugs with Claude Roberts.
Who?
Claude Roberts. He works for Anitis Bioprotection up here in Canada. He was talking about the crazy mites.
That's right. I met him at the
Grow Up.
Grow Up meeting up there in, was it Edmonton? Is where we were?
Yeah. Just for an hour away from me.
Yeah, I learned a lot more about those crazy mites and the fact that they're a good predator, but they might not be the best all be all. In other words, they got lazy. They would sometimes cannibalize themselves instead of eating the pests that they were supposed to be there. So I think, again, another nice tool but it's like all you got is a Phillips head screwdriver and you need a flathead, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's where biodiversity in all
Right?
things, not just in biology, but that is part of the biology. Oh, right, just a larger form of it. Oh,
Well,
like us, a larger form of that biology.
we call
Yeah.
that the orthopods. So the
Yes.
micro macro orthopods. There's a tier up on the
Yeah,
slope.
yeah. And then we had Luna Whitcomb
Yep.
come on, and actually, she's got one of the best performing videos on our channel, guys.
Really? Which one was that?
Yep. Her and coming on with you guys on the Soil Matters.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Interesting. I know she was doing her own show there for a minute on another
Yeah.
on your platform on what,
Yeah.
Wednesday?
Thursday,
Thursday.
we had her on, and then she brought in the Queen of the Sun growing, Alex, and we had the two of them for a while. And then Alex had to step away, and then Luna decided that she would step away as well, looking for greener pastures, and we just welcome her for all the information and thank her for all the information that she shared on our channel. Just some amazing content.
Now, was Alexa, was she out of Michigan?
I think she originally was in Michigan, California, and then she's I think over in Washington now.
Okay, so it's a different Alexa.
Yeah, no, you're thinking Alexis or
Organic Alexa.
Yeah, Organic Alexa. No, this is Alexandria Irons. She's Queen of the Sun growing on Instagram.
Got you.
Yeah, another highly intelligent woman. Into all the natural farming and understanding the science of what's going on as well.
Nice.
Then we had your friends from the M crew, the Muncher, and we've got an update on what's going on with them right now. Hopefully, things will move forward somewhere.
So I'm actually meeting the boys on Wednesday and pitching a new group. They're not new. They've been talking with the principals for a couple of years now, although they just didn't have the right fit. It appears now that they might have a situation. So they're going to be doing a demo. They brought the equipment up there on Saturday, and they're gearing it up now to demo on Tuesday and Wednesday. And so I'll be up there Wednesday.
Cool.
Doing a presentation, then I'll be back on Thursday. So with any luck, one of these pops and they're off the races. But on another note, Mo looks like he's going to have a benchtop unit available pretty soon, which is huge because now we can control individual inputs or combinations of inputs. So once we get the original 14 data points back from the DNA sequencing, we'll have bits and pieces to start giving us direction on where we want to head based on any specific combination. And then we can take those ingredients, bring them to the benchtop and just do a small batch, shoot it off for testing and really start dialing it in. And then even more importantly than that, go back to Josh and Jill. He has always wanted a benchtop. And I've encouraged Mo to start building benchtops because they're not nearly as expensive to produce as these 5, 10, 25, 100-ton units. Those are in the millions, whereas this benchtop could be almost affordable if you got enough people together and everybody set aside their green waste and their food waste, and they all came, they produced it or processed it for a fee, and then they took that back as their fertilizer for that season or for a month, whatever it is. That could be highly affordable and economical. And the only problem was basically his concern was, well, basically once I release this technology, there's no reason somebody can't reverse engineer it and come out with a new product that's almost identical to my work because they'll have everything. They'll have the formulation, they'll have all of the settings, all the critical shit that took him 15 to 20 years to figure out. they're going to get it handed to them on a silver platter.
Yeah.
So I told him, I said, all right, I want you to start looking into quota agreements. Now, quotas are a very complex legal document that is agreed to between two parties, whether they're private and private or private and public, doesn't matter. Each party agrees to not release certain information. This isn't an NDA. This is like super bindable. Like you can't get out of it, and you can modify it. But basically speaking, both parties agree. Like, hey, you're trusting us with your technology. We will protect your technology for you because you've given it to us, or you've leased it, or sold it to us. So it's a very, very important legal document that he didn't know existed. So with that, armed with that legal document, now he can produce bench tops, sell them to people, and have a quota agreement that protects both him and them from any mischief, which is, really important at this day and age.
Yeah. Well, and when you can have the smaller unit, and hopefully we can get it into some scientists' hands that want to do some more testing, and now it's affordable for them to do it on site in their facility.
Yep, and let's face it, it's going to take a village to unlock this one. I mean, you just
Damn right.
Yeah, just a few different ingredients from a few, whether it's the same damn tree or the tree next to it, it's going to be different. So
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of need to do repetitive testing, but also pipelines for filtering the information so that we can get some predictive software to help direct us, because otherwise we could be lost in the minutia forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I recently met a geneticist who had spent years in what we call bioinformatics, which is basically the information related to DNA, biology, et cetera, and how to work it together. And she left the industry because she's like, it's too much chaos. There's no way anyone is ever going to put all this shit together to a point where it's usable data. And since then, yes, machine learning has come an incredibly long way, and it's less daunting than it used to be, but it's still very daunting, to say the least.
Yeah. And I think the machine learning has to meet Mr. Andy Lopez, because he's so far beyond machine learning that he would really teach them what the hell they really need to understand.
Well, I think in many ways he was an industry pioneer because of his upbringing with making elixirs with gems. He understood the value of minerals in its purest form, rock. And this goes on to a little pot thought about that I had last night, believe it or not, about the fact that this whole dogma with soil science, and that all soils are measured by their particulate size, but they're all considered mineral. Even though silt is organic, it still could be considered mineral. It's just a different type of mineral. So what is life? All life comes from rocks, and all life ends back up as rocks. Think about that, right? Think about that. It all starts as rock, ends as rock. And so it's kind of like one of those mind benders. But the fact that I die and that all my ashes or whatever, bones, everything disintegrates down into organic matter, consumed, digested, eaten up the chain, eventually dies again, gets buried. Now eventually the land shifts, and whatever was buried turns into slate or sandstone or schist or whatever, but it went back to a mineral form. So it gets pretty fucking heady when you start thinking about the fact that everything comes from rock and everything ends up back as rock eventually.
And the cycle of life continues.
Right. But Andy had that figured out, that a lot of times these soil systems were so over fertilized that there was no trace minerals left. There was no plant hormone. So between his seaweed and his rock dust, he could spin an unhealthy landscape right around pretty quickly within a few months back to a super healthy landscape.
Yeah.
So in many ways, he was a pioneer way ahead of his times.
Well, and I love being able to talk to him every Wednesday, and he's got so much information that, you know, trying to put it into a language that I understand sometimes is hard for him.
Yes, yeah, he's definitely one of those that can be a challenge to talk to because his brain is on another level.
Yeah.
And traveling at the speed of fucking light.
Exactly. Speaking about the speed of light, how about Daryl Pollock? He was our next guest. You know,
that was amazing. I love that, man.
I think I'll have to reach out to him again here soon and see if he can fill us in on anything new that's happened.
Yeah, all he really needs is funding. And again, we talked about the stymieing of technology and information, and he's a prime example of that. It's like the value of what he's doing is so fucking important for all life. And yet it's being stymied right out the fucking window. He's got to fight for financing, can't get any support within his colleagues. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing how the control system has been able to stymie so many different things and technologies for decade upon decade. And then you got guys like Dr. James White who come out with this horizontal gene transfer and blow all of our minds going, oh man, now I got to learn this.
Yeah, so he's another one. We've got to get him back on to discuss that. That was his latest branch in his work is getting a better handle on how these endophytes are doing what they're doing. And that's where it led him, was that, okay, how the fuck are they going from living inside of a plant to now living in the soil and then getting back into the plant again? I mean, there has to be more to this morphology. And I was alluding to the conversation a little bit with Craig and Leaf the other day, although I didn't have the right term and I used the word dimer, which dimer is incorrect. But it's basically the gradient of not cytoplasm, of biofilm that has proven that the material and electrical, cytoplasm and electrons and protons are being directly transferred through these gradients. So there's like we call them nanowires in microbiology, where inside the cell there's a little wire that sends signals or chemicals or whatever back and forth. Well, the same thing is true in these biofilms. So the horizontal gene transfer is the tip of the iceberg. So that just goes, oh damn, man, this is way more complex than just horizontal.
Find that with Daryl's work on the nanotubes formed by the water molecules is that the same kind of tube structure.
It's the same concept. Quantum tunneling, I think, is the word that they use in biofilms. So there's these tunnels that are constantly moving, bridging, connecting, disconnecting on scales that we can't comprehend. We don't know the limitations or the restrictions or requirements of these things, but they're happening. So literally, I'm a bacteria over here. You're a bacteria over here. There's miles in between us on a molecular scale. But with the biofilm and these quantum tunnels, I can ooze a little bit of my cytoplasm into that, and it gets to you, and you say, "Oh, cool, thanks. Here's something in return." Right back.
Yeah,
dude, that just, again, it takes horizontal gene transfer and basically says, "Oh, that's 1 + 1 = 2." Let's talk about.
Yes, multidimensional, I would say.
Let's talk about multi-dimension, right? Instead of just freaking one level, one-dimensional.
Oh, that's about all we're thinking most of the time. I won't even get into the math stuff I was just watching, but Dennis Meehan in water. We had Dennis on. He was actually supposed to come on at Christmas time, and they had that terrible storm on the East Coast, and he wasn't able to come on.
Yeah, and I reached out to that buddy of his out here who's doing that lake project up north,
Mm-hmm.
and never heard back from him. So I was hoping we would get Dennis back on, and I could encourage Dennis to really poke him a couple of times hard and say, "Hey, come on, let's talk about what you're doing up there," because I think that is really, really important moving forward in the future because all of our waterways are fucked. Like,
Yeah.
dude, I was in Michigan a year 2 years ago this summer, whatever it was, doing my cross country trek on soil awareness. And I went to both Lake Erie and then what's the one on the other side? It's not Superior. There's
Michigan?
Michigan in the middle. So it's Lake Michigan and Lake Erie, right? One on
I think
both
so.
sides. So I went to over to Lake Michigan and thinking that, oh my God, this is like super pristine. Like it's the industry is south. So it would have been Detroit. I'm, halfway up the midst, we'll say. So well away from any, serious industry. And I expected to just see, incredible amounts of aquatic biology. And in reality, all I saw was a fuck ton of algae. And like the water was green, not puke green, not Prestone green, but a pretty deep hue of green. And so I grabbed some samples and I scoped it, and yeah, pretty much most of it was algae. I didn't see any rotifers. I didn't see any kind of flagellates or amoebas or anything, and I was pretty heartbroken. And then as a part of that, on the way out of Michigan, I made a stop at a aquaculture facility out there just to see what it was all about.
Mm-hmm.
And the facility was huge and it was incredibly well designed, horribly managed. Just it made my heart break. I mean, the infrastructure there, they had these huge breeding ponds. They were growing walleye, like all the sports fish, like all the predator fish, and bait fish too. And it was really sad because like they didn't have any maintenance staff. All of the fish manure coming out of it, running into a fucking creek. I mean,
oh Jesus,
yeah, right. I was just like, and they're like asking for donations for the fishing, for the sports fishing industry. Like the sports fishermen have all the money. They're the ones that can afford these bass boats and all this other shit. What the fuck? Why aren't they paying for their fish? Why are you soliciting the public for money to support these wealthy fishermen? Insanity of humanity. Anyway, I was very, very heartbroken by the condition of the water quality in that area. I stopped at a beach on Lake Erie, and I basically didn't even get out of the car. Opened the door, looked around, smelled the air. I'm out of here. Fuck this. I'm not going to find anything but dead shit. Just the smell of it alone. So, I don't know how I ended up there, but
oh, it was just a fish story, and it was getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Well, I love my fish, man.
Oh, exactly. We actually had Kayla, the cannabis nurse, on the show after that, and another expert on the endocannabinoid system.
Yeah, she was another good one. Really impressed with the fact that she had somehow bridged the medical staff. So basically, East versus West in medicine. And was being allowed to teach nurses a qualified certificate in cannabis use. That was really impressed that she was able to be that successful to get that far.
Well, and she's not just in Canada, but she does a lot of speaking in the US as well, which is helping your side of the border. People learn it's all about getting the knowledge out there.
Yep. And getting rid of the stigma behind it.
Exactly. After Kayla, we had Dr. Elaine Ingham.
Oh, my buddy. I miss her. I haven't caught up with her in a while. I know she's been just crazy as usual, just travel. One of these days, I hope that they let her loose and let her get some of her experiments that she wanted to get done. But right now, she's still trying to get the world as a whole a complete understanding that yes, the soil is alive, and that
Yeah.
it's important that we start to respect it. And so, unfortunately, her mouth is more important there than her brain is in the lab, for lack of better.
Yeah, but her heart is in the lab, and someday I hope she gets the time that she would like to have to do that.
Agreed, buddy. Agreed, 100%.
Yeah. After that, we went to Leah Oram for quad egg with the humic and fulvics.
Yes, another great success story. Getting fulvic and humic acid into human grade foods and medicine. That's
Yeah.
huge, huge. People just don't respect the value of fulvic acid as a cell reconditioner, immune support. I mean, everything. It's probably one of the most important things that we're missing from our diet because let's face it, it's just not in our foods anymore.
Yeah.
So
it's not coming out of our soils anymore to get into the animals, let alone the plants, for us to get it. That's
correct.
the biggest problem.
Or we wash everything and we sterilize everything, so we're not getting those organic soil particles that would have been on that carrot. I mean, I know you probably grew up on a farm when a kid, and you went out there and rip carrots right out of the ground and eat them without washing them off, and they were delicious.
Oh, damn right. You know, not quite melting in your mouth because they were too damn crunchy, but the flavor burst.
Oh, the sweetness.
Yeah. People nowadays don't understand, or most of them don't, how sweet a carrot can actually be.
Yeah, they missed so much of our experiences. It sucks getting older, but I'm glad that I did get a chance to experience those because the kids nowadays are never going to experience that. Not until something
we fix
really
it.
happens. Yeah.
We just got to fix it, Leighton. We just got to do it, man. So we just keep doing this. That's why we're here every Monday.
Right? We just got to fix it. All right. Get to
damn
work.
Right. And then we went on to Charlie Schultz, speaking of fish stories.
Oh, my good buddy, Charlie. He's a great, again, pioneer in the industry. And what he's done down at Santa Fe Community College is just amazing. People could take online courses. They can go out there for different workshops or camps or one semester or 2 years, whatever. But they're going to get a degree or a certificate that will allow them to enter into the industry without bullshit. And there's none of this friggin' what are those courses called that you have to take pre-ed or required courses?
Prerequisites.
Well, no, there's another term for it, but again, it's bullshit courses that are filler. Where he's got no filler, all meat and potatoes. So if anybody's really interested in aquaponics, aquaculture, algae production, that's the place to go.
Mm-hmm.
High quality information, reasonably priced, and again, you will not get any bullshit filler courses. You can just get in, get out, and get into the field.
Yeah. So we went back to Tom Landry for 2 shows, and then we'll go to the next guy because we've already talked about Tom, Ron Harrington from Gold Hat Seeds.
Yes, another character, huh?
Yeah. Well, growing showing plants that were literally frozen, and being alive.
Yeah, crazy stuff. Again, our understanding of life is so simple. I mean, it's so much more extravagant than that. The ability for these plants to live, be dead and still alive at the same time, like a seed, or the same with biology, in a suspended state of animation, but able to come right back out again. Good shit.
Well, you look at a lettuce plant does the same thing. That's why you can grow lettuce up here in the winter, as long as you have it in an enclosure where it can be warmed by the sun. It will literally come back to life as it warms up. The biology just moves back up into the leaf structure.
Right?
Yeah.
Amazing.
There's got to be something along those lines.
Yep, exactly.
Then we had your buddy Ben Gill on.
Oh, Ben, he's a boy. Talk about a fucking smart kid. When I met him, he was super smart, super driven, but didn't understand soil biology or didn't understand that connection to the soil food web. But once he met me at that conference, I think that was the one in Humboldt. He definitely stayed in touch. I turned him on to the basic, simple stuff. Man, did he go down the rabbit hole! And look at him now. He's knocking out of the park, designing super complex control systems to monitor and maintain indoor cannabis growing or cultivation systems. Love him. Just a great kid, good heart, and a hard worker.
And that's what we need out there. And another hard worker, and you mentioned him earlier, was Smiley's Garden came up next.
Yeah, Smiley. I got deep respect for that man. Again, fighting his way through the cannabis circle of insanity.
BS.
Illegal to legal to questionable. Is it medical? Is it recreational? And he survived it all and came out the other end. Now, I don't believe he's still maintaining as high a level of cultivation as he was at the point prior to that, but he's still rocking it, man. He's still doing great. Kind of surprised I haven't seen his name pop up in the last couple of weeks, because usually he'll check in once in a while at this podcast.
Yeah, when he has the time. Who knows? Maybe he got a new job again.
Yeah, who knows, right?
Yeah. So then we went to Mike DeLeague, or it's not how you pronounce his last name.
What was the subject? Do we have it up there?
No, I don't. Let me see if I can open this in a new tab, new window. I got to be able to blow up the original screen on it. That's what happens when you need glasses, guys.
Or when you get old and you can't remember all this shit.
Well, yeah, that too. Of course, I went to the wrong screen. Okay, talking about nematode biocontrol methods, plant microbe interactions.
And it was Mike.
DILEGGE.
Oh, DeLeague.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got turned on to him through another guy, Chris Ball, I believe, because of his work with the nematodes.
Okay.
Again, smart kid, loaded with good information. One of those that I probably ought to listen to again, because that one I vaguely remember. But again, we've done a few of these at this point.
Well, yeah, we've done 50 that I've got on the stream here so far, but we're only hitting 20, or we got 20 left with this one. John Burfello came on next.
Oh, Johnny, good man. Love that.
Yeah. This one here, Lily, Mike. DeLeague. Okay.
We were close.
Yeah. Well, she's the French one. I don't speak French, so. Then we went to Benjamin from Acadia Farms.
Yep. Yeah. He's the same one as Ben before. For whatever reason, we chose to talk a little bit more about his farm and his work on the second round with him. But another super intelligent guy, full of life and great heart.
And then we brought David Agusniak back to talk about the Mycelium Fest that they had.
Yeah, and it sounded like he really blew that thing up that year. It sounded really fantastic. I mean, big audience, more help and support than prior years. So hopefully he keeps building that. And I know, again, Leaf and Craig had both shown interest in traveling out to that in the future.
Cool. Well, maybe this coming year they'll be able to actually make it out there.
There you go.
Then we had Tyler Platt from Grassroots Fabrics Pots on for a couple of rounds.
Guess who just called me?
Oh, wow. Jeez. Hi, Tyler.
So I got to call him after. Did I tell you he stitched me up a custom tarp?
Well, I remember passing an email along about some measurements in that, but he actually got it to you. Fantastic.
Yeah. So I purchased a product called Typar, which is made by Tyvek. It's a house wrap. Typar is a little bit better than Tyvek in the essence that it's stronger, and it doesn't break down as quick with the UVs. But the interesting thing was that it lets moisture. So you wrap the outside of your building with it before you put your siding on it, and it allows moisture from inside the house because we humans are very moist creatures.
Yeah.
So the moisture builds in the house, moves through the drywall, then it gets trapped in the wall pocket and grows mold. So this product, Typar, was a replacement for tar paper, which was used prior, that caused all those problems in the inner walls. And so it allows moisture to move out one way, but not back in from the outside. So I had him sew that in on the bottom of his fabric without the liner. So it's just his fabric alone.
Okay.
Sewed the Typar in on the underside of it, so that again I could have the rainwater could go through, but the moisture pile trapped when it hit the Typar, and then spread out. And I've had some wonderful mycelium plumes with that product since I've been beta testing it. As a matter of fact, that's why Kyle's coming out is to help me set up the irrigation for the 100-foot tarp, which is now that I've been playing with the 40-foot tarp for the last couple of months. I've tried a bunch of different techniques, a bunch of different types of spray heads, irrigation techniques, drip, spray, sprinkles, to see how best to get that water. Because again, I'm gravity fed. I don't have a pump. Equally distributed underneath that tarp. And the concept was always that eventually I'll have basically like an airspace. So we'll have the compost pile, and then I'll have an airspace, 4 to 6 inches above that. And hopefully at some point I'll be able to lift up one side, kind of like a cold frame in New England, so I can get the sun in there. And I'll be able to grow mushrooms and grasses on top of the compost, which has always been my goal since I've been trying to compost out here, because that's how I got to the high level of biology I did, was by using plants combined with the compost, so that we get the rhizosphere from all the roots. So that's been a struggle out here in California because of the UVs, water distribution, wind, just the fact that there's such low humidity that anything that's sprayed on the surface gets evaporated very, very quickly. So, yeah, excited to do the next level of testing with that tarp.
Well, you'll have to give him a hard time for me when you talk to him.
I certainly will. And
then we had Josh Sundberg come back on for a couple of more shows. Have we seen his wife Jill yet?
We haven't since the original one. She was on the very first one.
Yeah.
They tag teamed it, and then he came on by himself for a couple other ones while she was away. Because when she's home and all the kids are there, it's kind of hard for him to break away for 2 hours. So we purposely timed it so she was visiting her parents or down in Phoenix, so he could talk it up.
Sneaky buggers! Don't tell the wife, okay? Then we had Tom came back on with Brandon Gibson and Tyson as a 3-way panel on Living Soil with you.
Yeah, that was a great one, and it was interesting to hear the guys' different takes. A lot of it was similar in their SOPs, but there were some subtle differences between their methodologies, which I always enjoy hearing those, because it's like you always say, take what you want from the person teaching you and use that, but don't like take every word as Bible. Just what resonates with you, what feels right with you, and so having those kinds of panels is fun because you're getting some variation.
Well, and you need that in life because it's many voices. You can listen to them all, and like you said, what resonates with me is what I take away.
Yeah, amen.
Yeah,
bits and pieces from everybody.
Exactly. William Patella Brown, another mycelium master.
Yes. Bill Patel. I'm trying to remember. Was he mycorrhizae or was he saprophytic? He was.
Um, he was both. He's a cannabis. He's had his own products, mycelium products that he's produced, both medicinal, like lion's mane, reishi, etc. Yeah. I don't know what else I could really say. He's a fantastic guy, and I'd like to bring him back on not just our show, but on his own show. We've talked about it. We'll see what happens in the future. It's always when time allows people, and a lot of people, when they're young and getting out there going crazy, it's not as easy to tie them down as it is guys like me and Leighton.
Exactly. They're still in the rhythm of it, or the grind in it.
Yeah, and having fun. So we went to Harvest Harmonics and Jim Kurtz next.
Yep. Actually, supposed to have another conversation with those boys a little bit deeper on the technology. Unfortunately, the cables got crossed. I was at 40 or an hour late to a Zoom call, and they were not there at that point, and so it got screwed up. And then Ben, the Protea guy, purchased one of those and is using it down in a greenhouse in San Diego, which I'm supposed to go down and visit for two reasons. One, to check the biology in his proteas, as well as to check the difference between the water used with that machine and the water that does not have that machine in a side by side with my microscope. But unfortunately, with the weather here, they haven't needed any irrigation. I mean, San Diego was underwater, so and we're getting more on Thursday, so probably not going to do that for 2, 3, maybe even a month from now.
And well, hopefully, once you've done that, we have some more data. Maybe we can get him back on. And you guys can talk about it.
Absolutely.
Then we went to Mr. Stefan Burns, our resident geophysicist.
Oh, that guy's great. What a fucking trip. Love him. Love his energy.
Oh, and if you guys haven't checked out, and I know I caught something in the chat where somebody signed up to his channel. If you're tracking the Schumann resonances at all in the energy flow of our planet, Stefan pretty much puts something out almost daily on it. So, don't hesitate to sign up to his channel for that as well.
Yeah, he's definitely on it, and there's a lot going on right now energetically in our solar system. So,
that's an understatement.
Yeah, it might be a fun time for people to check in with him.
Yeah. Then we went to Jenny Garley from New Age Labs and doing sap analysis.
Yep. Yeah. Got a couple sap tests sent to me. I think we were talking off camera before.
Yeah.
We got to look
somebody at that's coming up in the future.
Yep. That exactly. Very clear, very near future. So Leighton better get to work on that tomorrow.
Yeah, you got a couple of weeks, Leighton. Yeah.
What did I just tell you? I swear yesterday was Monday. We were just on this podcast. What happened in the weekend?
Poof gone, man. Poof gone.
Poof gone is right.
Alicia Forrester Scott.
Yes, Alicia. So great girl, hard worker, big dreams, big ambitions, trying to connect technology with farmers, not technology, but answers or solution to some of the issues that farmers have at present day. So I spend time with her pretty much once a week anyway. We chat it up. So she's doing great, and we're due for a call pretty much anytime. I'm sure I'll catch up with her sometime this week.
And you wonder where your week goes. Yes. Now we know. Chatting with the ladies. Yeah. And of course, chatting with our next guest, who was John Crago.
Oh, there you go. Yep. Another very brilliant man.
I heard that he's got his glass. He got settled up on his glass stuff. So maybe we're going to see his big unit again.
Yes, he is right now visiting his daughter Amber up north. Here, he's flying out to Hawaii to do a few jobs, raise some more money, and then I believe he's going to come back here. I don't know whether he's building it here or building it on the East Coast. That he didn't make clear, but he
Mhm.
did get another three pieces of uh, what's it called, tempered glass, so that
Yeah.
he could put it together and play with it. So he's got like a mocked model while he's
Mhm.
waiting to get the final piece for the installation at Desert Burning Man.
He's going to try to get there this year then?
From what Amber said, if all goes well, in the next month or so, then potentially yes. But they've
That'd
got a
be,
lot of hoops to jump through, and he's got to get enough money to finish building the actual
yeah.
installation piece.
So then we went to Josh Hedberg from BioAg.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great guys. I'm really interested in their new product line. Speaking of which, I definitely got to catch back up with. Is it Jim?
Bill. Bill
Bill.
is the
Yeah,
guy on the ag side. Yeah.
yeah, Bill on
Bill Riddle, I think.
something like that, and
Yeah.
his boss too, because we did some experiments
Yeah.
with their Calmino tests, which weren't fantastic, but they still moved the needle, and I've got to catch back up with them on that experiment.
Cool. Cool. Hopefully we're going to get some BioAg products, a discount code for them. I actually, Josh sent me some. I got the Supercell and let's see,
Nice.
Calmino and Nitromino and Full Power. So we're going to be checking it out on in the R&D grow.
Nice.
And then it was you and me because that was Dennis was supposed to show up, and it ended up being us interviewing each other.
Which was actually kind of fun, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, people are seeing clips of that right now because I'm putting out clips to try to do basically highlights of the shows that a lot of people are going, oh, yeah, I forgot that. It's like, guys, it's as much for me as for you guys because I go, oh, yeah, that's right.
Well, believe me, I do that too. Why didn't I fucking remember that? Like, dude, I tweaked my back on Friday. I tweaked it. It was a little sensitive. Saturday, I fucking popped it, and I was miserable all day Saturday and all day Sunday. And then I'm like, dude, CBD crude. You got fucking tabs right in the fucking closet. Popped one of those last night. Oh man, I was in friggin' heaven. I actually, dude, for the first time ever, I woke up when I was on it, which I never do. I've used that product for years.
Yeah.
So I woke up and it was like I was not fully awake yet. Like I was coming out of REM, I guess.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like a really good narcotic, like morphine, when you get like when you're in the hospital and you get that warm, fuzzy feeling. Demerol was one of those that was like amazing. Demerol was used as a pre-op anesthetic to put your whole body at ease. Well, the same thing happened as I was waking up. I was like, oh, I'm all warm and fuzzy. Like, oh, well, wait a minute, what? Am I dreaming? What? Where am I? What's going on? So I wake up and I'm like, holy shit, I'm stoned off my ass.
And off of CBD.
Well, it has THC in it, so it's CBD crude. So it's a hemp plant processed only once. So it's gone through rotary valve, but it still has all the THC in it. Then they have to scrub that to make the isolate, distillate, or whatever concoction you're using it for in medicinal.
Lily is saying, Leighton, did you get the email I sent you?
I did. And still, you got to reach out to that guy that does the fucking Venus flytraps. Chase his ass down. Let's get him on the show.
We'll have to. Speaking of fly traps and chasing, we had Stefan on next with his UFO experience.
Oh, that was wild, dude. That was wild. And he wasn't bullshitting either.
No,
you could tell he was not bullshitting. And I tried to poke holes in it, like asking questions about, well, what was it like when you were underneath, or what happened, after you passed
Yeah.
by? Now he definitely saw what he thinks he saw.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Something was.
Lily's asking you a question. Okay, which one are all three? There's three different ones.
So the video on the plants talking to each other, that one I watched. Then there was the clip on the paper on the Venus flytrap. I read that one. Is there something I'm missing, Zil?
Could have been maybe the three scientists on the paper or something.
No, it's got maybe there was more than one link to the plants talking.
Yeah. Oh, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. We'll figure it out.
Then we went to Troy Hinkie.
Yep. So that was that last week, I believe.
Right? No, 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Troy is an old buddy from Rodale. It was fun to catch up with him, and he's a funny guy. Like, he's so intelligent, but he's like, you almost gotta like coax him to come out of his shell as far as like some of the information. Like, he could have not exasperated, expanded on a lot of the stuff that he's been doing, but I don't know whether he was just gun shy or just not in the right place that day. But we'll definitely have him on again in the future. So we'll suss out more of that from his work, because he's doing some great shit.
Definitely. And then last week it was actually Leaf and Craig.
Well, that's right. My buddies Leaf and Craig from Study Group. Man, they're again great guys, early 30s, full of life, got so much potential in front of them. Leaf's getting his master. Craig's got his fingers in so many different, really important, cutting edge stuff with both the regen or the soil work that he's doing down in New York City, cleaning up stuff, monitoring stuff, learning the differences between the compost and the soil. And all that data we're going to get to plug into the M5 stuff, so we'll get a lot of other suitable data points that we can use when we're starting to figure out different projects in the future. So
yeah,
I'm very excited for both of their careers. They've got really bright futures ahead of them.
Well, and I'm going to try to actually have them come on a half-ass regular basis. They were doing a podcast already, so I'm trying to sucker them into coming on to the network and doing it on here as well, so we can get the benefit of having them on.
Yeah, so we talked on Saturday night as a part of our normal study group, and Craig mentioned it, and I said, dude, look, I don't care if you come on once a month, once every 4 months, once a year, it doesn't matter. Just go for it. And, I think that, again, what both he and Sil are doing are, they're trying to promote information to the people that care about this stuff. And so the more information they put out, the better the audience will be at understanding and having places to go to take that research or information even further on their own. So I highly encourage them to do it. We'll see if they, again, Leaf's in a grind down at college, and Craig is scrambling to keep all these different, what do I want to say, balls in the air as he's juggling them. So they're nailing down 30 somethings right now is a little bit of a challenge, as we discussed earlier.
Oh yeah, especially those two, because they're like, I can't see Leaf stopping even after he finishes, this set. He's going to move on to the next one because it's going to lead him to the next one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very, very bright futures for both of those guys.
Well, and that means there's bright futures for us as well.
Yeah. Or for at least for the audience that's participating, so that, again, we can share the information that they learn, so that hopefully the audience can share it with people around them as well.
So and what Silly Lily suggests, guys, is anyone in chat have requests for guests, let us know. We'll try our best to have them on. So, and guys, leave comments. The more comments that these videos get out, that's how YouTube knows to push our videos out more and more and more.
The old algorithm.
Yes, that's why we're putting out 4 clips a day to play with that algorithm and get more viewership on the content that we have here. Because it's some really wild content, like not just the stuff that Leighton brings on in his mind, but all these different guests that we've had on in the last year on the Soil Matters. It's going to just we need to keep that going. We need to bring those young minds out, and that's what's going to happen on in a couple of weeks. We're talking about the SAP analysis. That's going to be an amazing show as well, where we're going to see some actual data points, because we have the sheets. I have them on my hard drive now. I'll be able to bring them up and really dive deep into the SAP analysis that he did get.
So the only thing I want to do is just kind of warn everybody about understanding SAP analysis. So I had a client recently, and I had to kind of explain to them. They're very intelligent. I don't want to say they think they know more than they do, but I think the better way to put it would be that they don't understand the different variables that have to be put in play to understand that test result and or
Right.
any test result. Like leaf or sap are two totally different things. Leaf is what was there, sap is what's flowing. Well, just because you know what flowing doesn't tell you anything. How old is the plant? What area is the plant? Is it in transition from veg to flower? Is it outdoor? Is it indoor? Is it getting into shifting its own photoperic model? Like, is it moving into winter or moving into summer? And even with all of those really important variables, there's 100 other ones. Like, what's available in the soil?
Yeah.
What are the microbes? What are the microbes in the soil? Who's doing what? Is it fungally dominant? Is it bacterial dominant? Is it saturated or is it dry? I mean, there's so many pieces that have to plug in. As I explained to them, like, look, it's so freaking hard for me to assess. Even though I'll do 6 or 7 different types of tests: leaf, sap, soil, biological, nutrient, texture. All those pieces are data points, but those data points have to be put into the understanding of the succession or evolution that's going on at that point in time. The test was taken on a cloudy Monday. Test was taken on a hot, dry Saturday. On a new moon, on a full moon, in a waxing moon, in a waning moon. There's just so many of these variables so my point is that as machine learning gets more and more simplified, where it can actually go in there and say, okay, this plant is at this geological location. Here's the weather for the last month. Here's the biologicals. Here's the sap. Here's the soil. Here's the texture. Here's the chemistry. Bing, bing, bing. All of those points take into place. Then produce the data against any one of these tests. Now you can say, okay, you're missing this, or you need that, or don't do anything, or add more water. But until we have like all of those things in the folder, we're still fucking guessing at best about what's going on. Now, again, experience is really valuable, and even if I don't have all of the answers, the more times I do this and experience this, the better I will get as a predictive software based analysis on what you should or shouldn't be doing at this point in time. But again, just that SAP test, those 2 pieces of paper, almost mean nothing until I get to really talk to him about when was it, what's going on, where is it, what else, what other information, data points do I have to analyze whether you're going in the right direction or the wrong direction. So it's complicated to say the least.
And this is another gentleman that we're going to eventually get onto this program. And it's Nature So Complicated, but you keep drawing sap out of trees. I think he's tapping 30 different species now. We're going to get some results from Super Nessa one of these days.
Nice. Well, we'll look forward to that, my friend. And again, why is he taking from different to so many different trees? Is he boiling it or making
That's what
medicine?
he feeds. He does hydroponic, and that's his food source for his cannabis plants.
Oh, sweet. Yes. Why don't you come on here, brother?
Our minds need some work first, he's saying. So is that our minds or your minds or everybody's mind to think in a different light from a different perspective? Because I love different perspectives.
So bong hits all the way around and then you come on?
Yeah. Well, no, peace pipe.
Oh, here you go.
Yep. Well, we've been through all 50 episodes. Oh, except for there's one that it's on Rumble only. We had Stephanie Senoff on, and she's the expert in glyphosate. And the second half of the show, we got taken down the vid road, and that's another specialty she has. And the powers that be didn't like that and pulled the video down. So if you want to watch that video, you have to go over to the Rumble channel of the same name. Of course, it's all about the biology. And you can find the video with Stephanie.
There you go. Well, I'm glad we actually got to catch up. That was fun. It was nice to review all of the different individual speakers that we had. It's hard to imagine it's already been a year, but here's Monday.
Exactly. Well, yeah, next Monday's going to be like tomorrow.
Right? Literally. Well, Ken, much appreciated for all the work you do on this channel and the hard work, both you and Sil. Silly, love you, girl, for what you're doing. Thank you so much. And audience, I'm sorry we didn't have a guest today. I hope you enjoyed the review of last year, and look forward to seeing you all next Monday. Same bat time.
And I'd like to offer my appreciations to you, brother, because without you coming on and sharing that masterful mind of yours every Monday, we wouldn't be here right now.
Hey, I'm blaming you and Sil. You guys are the ones who dragged me back onto this. And to be honest with you, there's been a few times over the last year that I've been like, I really don't feel like I have a lot to offer anymore. Like, I've said it all. I've been doing this for 5+ years now, and I mean, how much information can I actually get out there that I have not already given out? But for whatever reason, a guest comes on, inspires me, and then there I am, like, well, yeah, let's just keep going. What the fuck? Plus, I'm studying behind the scenes too, so
yeah,
there's new information.
We're always learning, and when we learn something and put it into the matrix of our brains, right, then that can change something else that we've been saying, and we have to go, okay, now that I've learned this, we need to look at this, and that's what we're here to do. That's why we're always learning. That's one of the reasons I do this, is so I can learn with the guests that you bring on every week. Okay, I'm the one that wants this knowledge floating into my brain.
Agreed. Well, I'm just happy I can share again.
Yeah.
I'll keep doing this as long as people keep tuning in. Whatever, right? It's part of the process.
You bet. It's part of the education that our planet needs.
Amen.
Hey, everybody. Peace out. We'll see you guys with Andy on Wednesday.
All right. Peace out, everybody.